Welcome to Muddy River News this week. I'm Bob Goff. My guest is Curtis Sethaler. He is about to become the executive director of the Quincy Family YMCA, but he also does a lot of other stuff, and we're going to talk about that as well. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations on the new job. The Y is a fantastic organization, but they are going through a bit of a transition.
Yeah, I think public perception is one thing with the Y. I think in actuality, just from what I've seen in my experience, I think there's just so much good that's going on there right now that I'm really, really excited to be in this role.
No question about it. I mean, again, I think organizations, especially when they are as long as and established as the Y is, they sometimes just need to evolve, and I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's been, like I said, it's been one thing as far as like public perception goes. It's been absolutely another as far as what they're attempting to engage in with families and youth and all of that. The Y was one of the first organizations me and my wife got involved in when we got up here, largely because of childcare, and we could work out there and stuff like that. And it was a ton of fun for us, and like I said, it's really excited to be jumping back in.
But sadly, you are closing one chapter in that you are departing as the director of Young Life.
Yeah, honestly, never thought I would leave Young Life at all. So it's been, an incredibly hard decision, but one this is the first real big decision that we've made as a family too. So one taking this to my wife and then sitting down with our daughters and being able to discuss, and ultimately deciding to leave Young Life to pursue this. So we'll do that. Over the next 6 weeks, we'll start at the Y officially the first Monday in November 4th. So, yeah, we'll finish strong at Young Life, and the team there is just absolutely incredible. So,
and you're going to help with the transition to new leadership there as well.
Yeah, I'll be finishing out this next month through October. We'll hand it off to a hiring team from there, and I'm not sure what my level of involvement will be. I will respect whatever our regional leadership. So Young Life is a global organization, so there's multiple layers to leadership there. So whatever is going to be best for Young Life in Quincy is what I'm going to do. I hope to remain in a board role at some point. I don't know the immediacy of that. It's going to be what's best for the organization. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anytime you always, whenever you're leaving an organization on good terms, you always want to be there if they have questions, and if you want to be able to be a resource for them. Yeah. And again, an organization like that, I mean, if it's something that the new person comes in and, I don't really want the old guy looking over my shoulder a lot, but if he's on the board and he's helpful, I mean, great. I don't see a downside to that.
No, and I think for a lot of people, just the nature of what we do in Young Life, I've become the face of Young Life, and for a lot of people, I am Young Life in Quincy, and that's absolutely not true. Right. We have an incredible team. We have four other staff members who are here in varying roles and part-time that operate the 4 ministries that we do, including administration. So we have an absolutely fantastic team of staff and volunteers. I wouldn't be stepping away from Young Life if I thought that it was going to fail on its own. I am absolutely not the mission of Young Life. Our team and our community are, and they are what make it great. I'm just the person who's been blessed to be part of building the team and to invest deeply in this community through the organization for the last 8 years.
But and again, turning the page now, you step in, you'll be at the Y in November, and you talked about public perception. But it's also, I think just a part of that is getting out and telling your story. And I know you've got a marketing team in place there, but again, I think it's up to you as the executive director to work with them and say, okay, this is what we have to do. This is what we have to do to get numbers up. This is what we have to do to get people in the building still. And again, I think that's, that's something that, I'm sure you're pretty excited about.
Yeah, I could not be more excited. I think building relationships within the community are something that I've, through Young Life and what I've learned there, have been, able to really grow into. And I think that's a huge piece of the Y is just relationships, from the time people come in the door to families to kids, adults who are there to work out, just building those relationships with the individuals, the staff there, primarily initially for me is building a relationship with the staff, building a relationship with the members, and building a relationship with the community. And then we watch it grow from there.
Yeah, I spent probably a good 12 to 15 years of my life when the kids were growing up there playing ball and on the teams and all that stuff. So, the ball fields, I coached for most of that time, probably 12 of those 15 years I coached and thoroughly enjoyed it and did football and baseball. And it was just something that, being there was always, and spending time with the kids. That's time that, even though, maybe I, yelled a little bit too much when I was a coach, it was always tried to do it in a positive manner to kind of inspire and kind of get the kids motivated. But again, it's something that those memories that you build, and you've had so many people in this community that everybody in the Quincy community has a story about the Y.
Absolutely. And many generations of them too. Like I said, we moved up here and got involved with the Y right away. Now I'm even before this role, like I've been a longtime basketball coach for all of my daughters, and continue to do that this year. I was hopefully one of the first people to sign up for basketball leagues and signed up to coach and do that too. And I think there's so many people that want to be involved, that want to help, that want to see the Y ultimately just super successful, and be everything that it can be. And it is absolutely a community effort in that. I'm not one guy who's going to come in and save or build anything. It's going to take a community to rally around this and really just grow it into the pillar of the community that it should be. And I believe that it is, and people want it to be.
Yeah, and people probably try to get you to reopen the pool or something too, but that's another chapter.
It's only half the comments on social media, so.
Yeah, I know. It's a thing. It's like anytime that happens, something like that. Because again, like you said, generations of kids went through swimming lessons and stuff there too. It's that kind of thing. So, but I get it. When my time on the park board, I found out that pools were very expensive, sometimes you just gotta make tough choices, and I certainly respect that. So, let's talk about one of your other jobs. Well, you got a couple of your other jobs we're going to talk about, but I guess the Adams County CEO program. Are you kind of your first year wrapping up with that, or
actually just started? So,
you just started?
Yeah. So just started this August 19th, I think was our first day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've been a mentor for a couple of years.
That's what it was. Yes.
I have been involved in the program previously. So I've mentored students through the class business and then through their personal businesses the last few years. And then, again, was just fortunate that, I'm someone that the board and leadership saw is fit to take over the program and really just build on the foundation that's been there. So just an exciting opportunity that we have to invest in our first full class. We have 20 students who are aspiring entrepreneurs who are just trying to figure out life and business and where those two things intersect and become very successful on their own.
Well, you talked about being a mentor, but you've done more than that in the fact that you and your business partner Jared Jones, you've taken one of those growing businesses and you've actually given it a home in one of your buildings.
Yeah. So it's been
with the Q-Town Kicks, right? That's the one that's there, the shoe store. Yep. So I mean, I think that's when you talk about being a mentor and kind of putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, having something like that's got a storefront and a young man who's trying to make this thing grow and work. I think that's a perfect example of how all of these things can work together.
Absolutely. And I think we have a community that wants to support young people. Maybe now more than in any other time in history. Like we see the value of investing in youth and their own entrepreneurial spirit. Like I fully believe this generation just wants to get stuff done, and they get written off a lot in culture and wherever else because people are like, oh, kids these days. But that's not my experience with kids. Like most of these kids have just an incredible work ethic, an incredible drive, and they want to do incredible things. They just need people to walk alongside them and help them figure it out.
The other thing with this, and of course having 3 kids who are all in their 20s right now myself, they all want to be CEO in 6 weeks.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, if you want to be CEO, I guess you start your own business because that's how you do it.
Right.
Otherwise, unless you want to work your way up the corporate chain. But yeah, everybody's like, hey, it's been 6 months. Can I do this? Can I do that? And again, they want to strive. They want to succeed. And again, a lot of them can take this path, like the young man at Q-Town Kicks or whoever, say, hey, I'm going to start my own thing and let's see how it shakes out. And if I can, build my business or sell my business or expand or merge with somebody, all those, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. I think culture is just so instant, right? Like if we want something off Amazon, half the stuff we can get here tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It used to be a week, it used to be 2 days, and now it's like if I order it by like 9 a.m., it'll be here tomorrow.
I'd order when I was a kid, and I'd order something out of cut out a coupon of a comic book, fill it out. I'd be waiting. It'd be like 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. And it was like checking the mail every day, and it's like, that's not a thing anymore.
No, it's just everything's instant, and I think we apply that then to organizations. Like, why aren't we fixing this now? Why aren't we doing this now without the understanding like there's a process in place, there's fundraising, there's stuff that has to happen. We apply it to literally every facet of our life, and also to like our own success of like, hey, I did this, I got my degree, I did this, why am I not running this company by now? Like, well, there's a process in place, and like you do have to pay your dues and you do have to do the work, and I'm 42 years old. Like I really didn't start investing in my own growth, my own development, my own leadership until I was 34, because it didn't click then. All the stuff my basketball coach in high school told me like didn't click until I was 34. And then it was like, oh crap, like everything he told me about then, if you would just try, if you would just work more, it made sense.
Oh, yeah.
And I was fortunate and still am to be in contact with him, and I got to shoot him a message and to be like, man, like I didn't get it then, but I get it now. Sorry it took me 20 years,
Yeah.
But we live in that like immediate culture, and we want to, for a lot of people, we want to type a comment on Facebook and watch the world change, and that's not going to do it. It takes getting involved.
Yeah, and we have those discussions all the time because social media is such a great and powerful tool that we primarily use for our marketing and things. But I think when it comes to the vetting and the process, when people will send us 16 different comments on, why aren't you looking into this? Why aren't you well, we have a way we have to do things.
Correct.
We, as journalists, we have to vet things. We have to check sources. We have to double check sources. We can't just put something out there. And so many people do that, and then they expect us to do that. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Right.
And again, and it's multiple people, because, Brittany and I were talking about this the other day, and then we got an email from a woman who said, that was about, I didn't mean, I'm like, that wasn't about you. It was so, David, and between our entire staff, we'll get a dozen private messages a week about look into this, look into that, and a lot of them deal with the schools, and a lot of them deal with whatever. But it's like, okay, let's take a look at it, but we have to see what the truth is.
Right. And I love how passionate our community is.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. Like, the 40 comments or whatever that are on posts, or that half of those that are about the pool at the Y, like, really don't bother me. But I love the passion that people bring to this community, because ultimately we all really do care. We have different ideas on how to get there. And that's fine, because that's what makes communities great and makes communities strong.
And then when you get the job, you can go message these people back. How would you like to help the Y? Would you like to donate? Would you like to fundraise? Would you like to be on a committee? We'll take your help.
Absolutely.
And we'll do what we can do.
And I'm someone who craves accountability. I love learning. Like, I love learning about people. Like, seeing how this kind of blew up on Monday, I was like, I wasn't expecting quite that piece of it, but it was really cool. I had people like, hey, don't read comments. And I was like, I'm going to read every comment. Because I want to learn what people's perceptions are of this. And that's been a pretty cool thing. And seeing that passion that people have for the Y, the passion that people have for schools, for Quincy, for, all things around here is honestly inspiring. We have different ideas, again, on how to get to different places. But if we would go that one step beyond, like, commenting on something, to making a phone call, to sending an email and saying, hey, how do I help this? Because if you have the idea on something for, like, how to help, like, I think you should share that.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who believes in, like, I'm not going to voice problems unless I also have a solution for you or an idea. And that's what I love to, like, see people bring to the table. It's like, hey, I see that this problem is happening. How do I help? I have this idea. Like, cool, tell me about your idea. How do we integrate that? And when thoughts become actions and go beyond, like, complaints on social media, or, getting kind of how we get with people, snippy with people who have differences, then I think when we seek understanding and we seek to actually build into community, we're way, way stronger. And that's really what I see in this community, as something that's just beautiful. You
talked about process and the way the instant gratification that this society craves today. But you also sit on a governing body in the Quincy School Board that also, yes, people want to see instant changes, but as I'm sure one of the things you've learned in your short time on the school board, that it takes a while to get stuff done.
It does, and that's just the state of being part of, like, giant organizations. Like, the school board is no joke. It's not a small organization that it's like, oh, hey, we can make a decision. We're going to see something.
$60 million budget or whatever.
It's a giant corporation that we do get to have insight on, but there is a process, and there is a way that we handle things. There is a way that decisions are made, and that's it's a really cool process, because it's very thorough. It's not always the most easy to understand for the public, but that's where, like, we hope that we are, as part of that, individuals that the community does trust to make the best decision for the community. I know that's not always the case, but I hope that, in what we're doing and, my part in that I'm somebody that the community trusts to represent them well. Both taxpayers, educators, students. All three of my daughters go to Quincy Public Schools. And I'm incredibly proud to be part of that, and honored to be able to serve on the board and be, that voice and that representative for our community.
But also being on a board, it is a macro focus, because you hire these professionals to do their jobs. You hire the superintendents, who hires the principals, and it trickles on down. And yes, you do have input on personnel, but ultimately you're trying to find the best people to do these jobs. And whether it's something going on at junior high or one of the elementaries or high school or whatever, you've got to look at that, and you've got to put it in the hands of your professionals. And but then if you can make suggestions, but again, a school board doesn't want to micromanage, but they do have to manage in a way that the public still feels that there is accountability on a grander scale. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, totally. And okay. I think that applies to any position of leadership.
Yes.
Whether it's school board, whether it's, anyone in leadership within the schools, whether it's, the CEO of the Y or the director of Young Life or the facilitator for Adams County CEO. You name your organization, your business, whatever. Like that should apply to all levels of leadership. That you listen to those that you have the privilege to oversee. You listen to those voices, you take those phone calls, you take those comments on social media, those emails into consideration, and then you learn because of that, and then you lead better. It's not, the unilateral thing of the iron fist of like, this is what's going to happen now because somebody said something. It is that process of learning and accountability and, seeking to lead as best we can.
And to get that, again, to have those conversations, with the board. And again, one of my things within, the school board, the committee structure is very strong, and that's how most of the heavy lifting gets done in committee. And sometimes the meetings aren't very long because a lot of stuff's been done in committee, but also stuff's being done in executive session. And David Penn and I have discussion of what should be and shouldn't be an executive session, but that's another topic.
I'll let David answer that.
Yeah, David can handle that. But I mean, I think that when you look at that and the things that come to the board meeting, there are times, again, people are going to come and you have public comment time for a reason, and every governing body should. And people can vent that there. And that's a time, there's not a lot of that happens at the schools, but sometimes it does, and sometimes it's noticeable. But I think that's a case where you want that public input, but you also, those people who go and want to talk before a board, they also have to understand, again, they have to say, hey, we have a process, and we're glad you brought this to us, but we're not going to solve this tonight.
Right.
And you can't, because it's not on the agenda, and you're going to violate open meetings and all that stuff. So,
and that's where like culture again,
yeah,
has negatively impacted like how we do things. I mean, when we used to like mail letters, like just it would take weeks. Sometimes it still does. Yeah. Just because things bounce around. But I mean, if you can imagine just how far we've come as a culture, even getting on the internet. Like I grew up in the modem era of like listening to that annoying sound.
Oh yeah.
I played that for some of our
Or you
staff.
couldn't be on the phone.
No.
When you were trying to get online. Yeah.
You're like trying
Honey,
to
you can't talk to your mom. I've got to try to download some baseball stuff. Yeah.
But you had to be patient, right?
Yeah.
And it's changed so much that we want what we want. We want it right now. And we don't have the patience or the attention span. We want to get solutions immediately. And then if we don't see those, we automatically take that personal.
Yeah.
Where it's not personal, it's process. And that's an okay thing. So, one of my like growth areas, I'm pretty impatient. I want things done, and I will do them on my own. And when I was first on staff with Young Life, that's an area I really struggled. I would just do the stuff. I had a great friend and volunteer who called me out on it. And he was like, why don't you use the team? Like, why do you even have us here as volunteers? Why do you have us here? Because you do everything. Mm-hmm. I will never forget that conversation because it changed my leadership. I was like, holy cow, like you're exactly right. Like I'm really sorry. And that piece of like me backing out of it, owning it, and then going into like, hey, like what do you guys want to do? How do you want to contribute? And then that's the reason we have such a vibrant team there now. But it takes, that piece of like understanding process, understanding input from other people, and taking that and taking it seriously.
Yeah, you got to let it go. You got to let somebody else handle it. You got to delegate, and then plus that empowers your team, and it does. It gives them the value that they're not saying, "What the heck are we doing here?"
Right.
Totally.
And I had a professor in college a couple summers ago. I'm working on my doctorate right now, and hopefully wrapping it up in May. But he said anything anybody tells you will probably be at least 10% true. So like people's frustrations with individuals or organizations, like you have to like in leadership, I feel like you have to look at that and be like, okay, there probably is some element of truth, if not like in actuality, at least to them, and then seek the understanding of like, where did that come from? How do we grow from that? And how do we, continue to invest individuals and in community in a way that does allow people to voice opinions that they feel are valid without fear that they're going to be attacked, even if we don't agree with them.
Absolutely. Curtis, thank you for everything you do for this community, the kids, and everything you're going to do, and best of luck at the Y.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. That's all the time we have for now. We'll catch you next week.